Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Firstly, I'm honored to be hosting this panel discussion today. I'm thankful to ICAP for the opportunity. So as somebody who's gone through this rigor, and I know there are a lot of questions for beginners, for managerial level people, and for the CFOs on what needs to be done. So I'm going to just briefly start with telling you about my journey, because I am somebody who started like most of us as an accountant, but there came a point in my life when I realized that there's more to what we can do, and the power of technology is huge, which is when I started to think about technology and embarked on my journey to learn data science. And to be honest, anybody can do that, and anybody can come forward, provided you have the willingness to go forth with it. And once you start on a journey of being a digital accountant, learning finance as well as technology, the number of opportunities that technology can open for you is mind-boggling. You will be surprised with what you can get. It's important to understand that there are increasing pressures on costs and margins on corporations, and they are always looking to make cost cuts. If you refuse to digitally upskill yourself today, there will be somebody else who will do it. And you will be regarded redundant very soon. I don't mean to scare anybody, but I want people to take charge of their careers, and what I like to call is like a digital emergency for yourself, for your teams, for the processes that make up your team. It's imperative to understand what technology can do. But there's a question everybody asks, and as a beginner, even I struggle to understand what exactly needs to be done. So I'm going to just lay down very briefly a few steps that each of you can think about and actively take charge of your career, your professional development. So firstly, know that all the words that you hear, blockchain, RPA, AI, a lot of them are buzzwords, but you need to know more than just what the buzzwords are. You need to get into the weeds of what these buzzwords mean. Number two, take the time to understand the right technology terms, because there's a lot of data out there. There's a lot of training courses out there. There's a lot of things that you can learn, but every person who starts off to become a data scientist or a data engineer struggles with where to start and what to learn. Narrow down your focus. Try to understand what you need. Do the research so that you know what you want to get yourself into. Make regular time for learning, whether you are a student, you're a new qualified accountant, or even if you're a CFO. If you do not learn today, the pace at which technology is changing, the pace at which the way the tasks are being done are changing, you will be in for a surprise. And lastly, persevere, find a mentor, and stay steadfast to your beliefs. With all that said, I want to jump into our core panel discussion. I have an esteemed panel of guests here who will be sharing their personal experiences on robotics, process automation, and how they found these technologies to grow their businesses or to grow the different technology companies that they have been a part of. So I would like to introduce firstly Mr. Zubair Ahmed Sobani, who's the founder and CEO of ThinkVentures. Mr. Zubair is a global business executive, board leader, and investor with over 35 years of financial and C-suite experience in scaling new ventures and multiplying businesses. He works primarily in the MENA region and North America. Mr. Zubair possesses a track record of excelling in roles as a board member, as a director, chief operating officer, and a partner, leveraging a collaborative spirit to charge strategic decision blended with financial acumen and data-driven business intelligence. Furthermore, he's an advocate of digital reengineering, business processes to deliver scale and impact in a rapidly changing world, and has pioneered and led AI-led analytics-powered digitization of supply chain to achieve billions of dollars in inventory cost savings. Welcome to the panel, Mr. Zubair.
Thank you.
The next panelist is Mr. Farrukh Mohammed, who is currently serving as the managing director at Embark USA. He's an accomplished data and analytics leader with more than 2 decades of experience in diverse range of industries. He specializes in optimizing finance, accounting, and technology, and has expertise which spans digital transformations, cloud migrations, system integrations, data engineering, and data science. Prior to joining Embark, he spearheaded a number of successful initiatives and programs focusing on digital and finance transformation, technology, and modernization of data strategy and analytics. Welcome, Mr. Farrukh. And we also have Mr. Syed Asif Zaman, who is an SCA and possesses more than 25 years of diversified experience in the fields of audit and assurance, consultancy, finance and cost management, and accounting. Currently, he's heading a group of companies working in the space of audit and assurance, consultancy, software development, emerging technologies, and trading business based in Dubai, and having offices across UAE, Malaysia, Canada, Saudi Arabia, UK, India, and Pakistan. He also possesses certifications in fintech, blockchain, and AI from the Oxford University, and he's also a systems information systems auditor, certified information system auditor. Welcome, Asif. Thank you for being part of this discussion. It's an honor to have you all here. I'm going to jump into our questions because I know there are a lot of things that people want to hear from you. I'll start off with Mrs. Zubair. Mrs. Zubair, you've been part of different RPA-related projects. And in your experience, what is the most impactful RPA project that you have implemented? And if you were to quantify the benefits that it brought to the organization, how would you go about it?
Great. Thank you so much, Farrukh. First of all, thank you for a good introduction that you did for me. My only qualification, I always tell, is I'm a salesman. I'm not a technologist, I'm not an investor, I'm just a salesman. That's my main job description. So talking about the implications of the RPAs that I have been involved in, right? So I have done several RPA implementations. Two of them that comes one is from a front end side, which is basically talking about sales automation, and the second that I can talk about is the automation that is related to the processing side. And since we are most of the people here are coming for accounting related information, so I will talk a little bit on both areas of the business, right? So let me first talk from a front end side. So in any sales organization, the cost of marketing is a big element to the business, right? So we have implemented RPA solution in automating the lead generation side of the business and giving information to the business. So typically, and I'm talking about an example that we did for a big car manufacturer, where a huge amount of investment was done to generate leads, and a huge amount of investment was done to create call centers which would answer questions to the customers. So we did an RPA implementation there, primarily using simple technology, using chatbots, which actually help to reduce the cost per lead in a very big way, improve the time to give answers to the customers. And if I want to quantify, I would say that we were able to reduce the cost per lead to almost 80%. So this is one example from a front end of the business. From the back end of the business, we did some work, and actually it is still ongoing. It is not fully implemented. It is in pilot stage at this point, where a big, large grocery chain, supermarket chain, they have distributed good receiving from almost 80 locations, and those good receiving notes have to be matched with the purchase orders, and then the payment to the vendors, because that's a whole process. And in this whole process, they have close to 150 people involved. And using the RPA implementation, which is completely end-to-end, which is starting from scanning of the invoices to matching it with the purchase orders to matching it with the terms of payment and processing the payments, right? So overall, the cost of processing, already we have started seeing some results. We have, because it's in early stages, we have seen that it has already gone down to almost 30-40%. However, our commitment is that in 2 years' time, when it is fully implemented and when the machine learning will keep doing the things that are currently being done manually, this type of situation will make a big difference and almost reduce the cost by almost 80%. This is our expectation. So these are the two examples, one from a front-end side, which is the automation in terms of getting the business, and second from the back end of which is basically making sure that the cost is taken care of.
Thank you, Zubair. And just to add to it, I believe you use some RPA tools as well in that process. I believe Automation Anywhere, if I'm not mistaken.
Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, both of the tools were used. Like, I mean, these are different. It all depends on the situation, what systems they have, and how the client is comfortable using the cloud tools or on-premise tools. So that decision is made based on that, but Automation Anywhere is my preferred tool.
Great, awesome. With that, I'll move on to our next question for Mr. Farrukh. Farrukh, you have been in the technology sphere for a while now, and since working for a finance-focused consulting firm, it's imperative that you work with RPA and intelligent automation. So, as a starter, how would you define, just so that the buzzwords do not create a lot of confusion, what is intelligent automation? How would you define that, and why do you think that is something useful for the accountants?
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this panel, and thank you so much for inviting to the ICAP to speak. And truly humbled to have listened to both the speakers ahead of me, Dr. Al-Noor, who truly presented such a good sort of paradigm shift, insights into paradigm shift into accounting, as well as Mr. Nadeem, who shared on what are the challenges on the ground. And it's very strange that you and me both share the same name, Farrukh. So we definitely need some sort of AI to sort of differentiate them. So to answer your question, Farrukh, what I would say is, yes, it's catching up. Everything is coming down the wire pretty quickly. Especially with the release of ChatGPT, the AI is on steroids, and it's become so pervasive that it is impacting almost every enterprise, every organization, and every tool and technology to sort of start thinking on what AI means to me. So from an end user perspective, I would definitely say that, okay, how do my current business role or my current roles and responsibilities within my job are going to be relevant to the world of AI, right? So if I'm doing some sort of very low and repetitive tasks, so that could potentially be an opportunity for automation. It doesn't mean that the jobs are going to become insecure or our work is going to go away, but it's going to become that any waste in our processes, any waste in our daily job routines needs to be removed and improved. So as I'm going to piggyback on what Dr. Noor sort of presented, he sort of showed a picture of like actions, data, and learning. And that's truly a very good sort of representation of what's going to happen. So if you think of actions, so anything that you do with your mouse clicks, or if you do anything with your keyboards, those are all actions. Those just may be automated pretty soon. So those may go away. So you may not need to use your mouse clicks. You may not need to use your keyboards. You may use more of dictation. And I do that in my email typing and all. I don't use keyboard. I just keep talking on my mic. And then when you're talking on the mic, the AI robot can come into play, and it can make some suggestions. So think about whatever you're doing in your current world, if you're using your mic and keyboard, those can be automated. And the tools that can help you automate are RPA tools. And it could be UiPath, or it could be Automation Anywhere. It could be even things embedded within your browser, right? So what are thanks. So for example, if you have anything that you're doing in current world that you need to log into a particular application, you put in your login and password, then you click in a bunch of screens, you enter a data, you export a data, or you log into another screen and take it over. All those kind of clicks and typing through the keyboards can definitely be sort of rolled into an RPA kind of robot that can do it for you. Well, when that is done, what that does is it relieves you from doing much more high-level activities. once the data is presented by the robot to you, you can do much more analytical and decision-making sort of tasks, and it can make your job more and more efficient. So I'm not sure whether I'm answering exactly your question, but what I'm saying is intelligent automation is a much loaded word, and it is not too far. It is coming down the road. But when we think from a day-to-day job perspective, the three tools that are on the front burner, especially the place where I'm working, are the UiPath for RPA, and then the Alteryx for data processing, and then Power BI for visualization. If you really want to relate it to the current tool stacks that we can leverage today. I'll take a pause here if you have any questions.
No, thank you. I think you just hit it spot on. The power of the three technologies which are being used by UiPath, Alteryx, and Power BI. It's important to understand while Power BI has become a very much prevalent tool across the world, Alteryx and UiPath are catching up very fast, and the power of UiPath and Alteryx is extremely worth noticing, especially for the accountant world. Really appreciate that, Farrukh. Thank you for that. With that, I just while we are on the topic of intelligent automation, I did want to share that what Farrukh mentioned, like the most basic tasks that somebody can automate. I remember creating a bot a few years back where in the morning when you open up your laptop, there are a few different tasks, like you mentioned, that you need to do in order to get started while you get your coffee or your tea. And the bot used to do that, which means that it would open up your mailboxes, it would open up your ERP systems, because obviously that takes time to load and get your user IDs and passwords in there, and then eventually get maybe a news channel that you want to read news on in the morning. So I remember doing that, and it would save me a lot of time, that rather than sitting there and doing that, it got all done while I could just go and get myself some coffee. So thank you for sharing that. With that, we'll make a little segue into another very important sphere of technology. We have seen how the technology is changing, and we are now entering into Web 3.0, which means that blockchain technology is taking over a lot of things. And while with cryptocurrency, we all have heard a lot about blockchain, but it's unfortunate that not everybody of us goes into and gets a more detailed understanding and analysis of what blockchain are, what is the power of blockchain. And for that, we have Asif here, who is going to explain. Asif, you can tell a little bit about blockchain and from a security angle. So firstly, I think what basically is blockchain, the technology behind blockchain, and what are the different security issues that come with it?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to start. My voice is clear?
Yes.
Farrukh?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I can.
You remember in 2018 when the Bitcoin went, rocket high, and everything, everybody was talking about Bitcoin. At that time, I was also curious that what is Bitcoin, how things goes on. So I tried to explore, and I try to teach myself, going online courses and everything like that. But unfortunately, it was not enough, I think. Then what happened, then after that, I took a course from Oxford University, 8-week course on blockchain strategy program, to understand that how blockchain works and what are the blockchain. And after that, I took a course. I think that it was not enough. Then I took course on fintech. Then later on, I took course on artificial intelligence, and I start exploring and going on the, attending some conferences over there. Blockchain simple is a ledger, way of writing a ledger. The books, accounts which we are writing. I will tell you on a layman language what is a blockchain. Blockchain is that you see that when you are making an entry, after that you have an option to do edit, or you can do delete and everything like that. Blockchain doesn't allow an entry to edit or to delete it. It means it is it is permanent. It cannot be changed. If you want to make a change, you have to create another block, which for the common accounting terms, you have to make a JV for it. So it means once an record have been written, it cannot be deleted, it cannot be edited in any case. Then Blockchain works on a decentralized system. Decentralized system means that if me and Zubair Saab sitting in Saudi Arabia, I'm sitting in UAE, we are doing a transactions. I'm sending some goods to Zubair Saab is sending money to me, or we are doing some exchange things there. So what happened? End of the day, there could be a difference in books of Zubair Saab and my books. Both, Zubair Saab may be writing something, receivable, I'll be writing, and maybe exchange difference could be there, or we may have difference on some charges could be there. So what happened in end of the day, we have to do the reconciliation in any case, with the passage of time, which is a normal accounting procedures or audit like bank reconciliation or this reconciliation. But now blockchain has introduced a system which is decentralized. It means what transaction between me and Zubair Saab is doing, it is apparent to me and Zubair Saab both at a time. So entries cannot be passed unless me and Zubair Saab agreeing on that entry. So entries part, and there is a, I'm talking about layman, that's why some technical terms are there, hashing is there, and cryptography is there. So they get the entries. This is called, there is a second part, third part is called triple entry. That's why it's called. It's a part which is making that two entries together. I give you an example, and blockchains are two permissible are there. There are a public blockchain, there are private blockchain, and there are semi-private. For example, I give you a very small example that we are working on like taxations, and when we are invoicing, raising an invoice for a tax one, like for example, the tax is 20% for simplicity. I make an invoice for 100 rupees good for 120. I send to the client. So they will do their settlement and they will quarterly do. Now the blockchain helps to have an online real-time basis accounting for the taxation. It means when I have sent an invoice to Zubair Sahab for 120 and Zubair Sahab is paying me, he will pay 100 to me and 20 will go directly to the exchequer. The third party, which is a government agency, it monitors all the transactions. The entries in Zubair Sahab books and my books will be only entered when the third party, which is the government agencies, can put on that. So it means using the blockchain, the need for validation, for auditing, almost reconciliation becomes zero. I hope that the easy examples you can understand that. But there is internal working there different.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's interesting what you ended up with, that it eliminates the need for a lot of third-party checks, which obviously we'll, as accountants, we'll be more intrigued to know more about. But thank you, Asif. I'll come back to you in a moment. But before that, so we had some interesting discussion on RPA, and Zubair Sahab, you did a very interesting implementation as well. If you could speak of some of the challenges from a technology and implementation point of view, because obviously these technologies are still in nascent stages and growing. And what were your biggest challenges, especially when we talk about application of RPA in accounting or finance specific tools? Can you speak a little bit about that?
I think the biggest challenge is the mindset, because we as accountants are always trained to be conservative, right? So when we talk about RPA implementation, and particularly the RPA implementation in the finance and accounting area, the biggest challenge is coming from the mindset that, like most senior financial professionals, they have the fear of unknown. So they really don't know, because, with the current process of the accounting, the way it is done, or the processing, the way it is done, they have been doing it for so long, and they feel that, okay, they can control the process. So one of the biggest challenge that I see is that it's a mindset change. And at the top, more than anything else, mindset change that, okay, this is something and this is going to change. Then secondly, obviously, if the processes, for an RPA to be implemented, there are two things which I think you just mentioned as well. It should be repetitive and it should be rule-based. So if you are doing anything once a year, then it does not make sense to do it in an RPA. right? Because it is not repetitive. It is better to do it outside the RPA. For RPA to be successful or have a good ROI, it is very important that it should be repetitive and it should be rule-based. It's not that every time a decision is made that, okay, what to do with this transaction or what to do with this thing. Yeah, there can be some exceptions, but it should not be that every single transaction someone has to make a decision. So many organizations, they do not have a proper written processes, or they have a lot of manual processes, whereby implementing any RPA solution become very, very challenging. Because, when you go and check the rules, there are no rules. The rule is decided by the top guy, whether it is the big boss, the owner of the company, or the senior executive. Every transaction, the big guy has to make a decision. That is, the RPA cannot work there. So organizations where there are clearly good SOPs, good processes, good policy documentation and everything, RPAs are very, very successful. Third challenge that I see a lot of time that we see is basically, the junior employees or the staff level employees, they have a fear of losing the job. Even though you keep on explaining and, do the buy-in saying that, listen, this is, you can get involved in doing better jobs rather than just getting this repetitive, low value jobs. However, they have this fear. They know that, if RPA is successfully implemented, I might lose my job. So challenges come from providing information or cooperating or making sure that things are done, because, you go and do an implementation, and if your team is not fully on board, it is become where even the top level wants to do it. But the team level, if you don't get that thing, then it is very implemented. So these are the three things that I see. Obviously, there from a technical side, there can be a lot of challenges, whether access controls are fully implemented, whether the security, because security is also a big issue. Security is taken, the security policies in a company are implemented properly or not. Yeah, but that just if I summarize it, the biggest challenges is mindset and the fear that people have for implementation of RPA.
I think that's a great point. Mindset at the top is of crucial importance, without which it's very hard to get a buy-in on a entity level. And I hope all our decision makers and CFOs and partners are listening to this, are on board, because it's this point at which we all can start the journey. And there are opportunities to learn. There are so many tools and training that can be taught to your teams who already understand business, who already understand accounting. And one good example of that is the digital data analytics program introduced by the Digital Assurance and Accounting Board. It's a great example of how you can start leveraging the power of technology, because there are very few courses which are offered from an accountant's and a finance person's perspective and for a local environment. I think ICAP is doing a great job on that, and people who have graduated have found a lot of value in that, and it's something that maybe other corporations and decision makers need to start looking at and have their teams become a part of it. The curriculum is very robust and meets the international guidelines as well. With that, we have another interesting discussion with this. As I noticed that there was a point when I started my articles, there was a lot of emphasis that you have to know two things: your auditing standards and Excel. So Excel, we were made to train in Excel so good that more than half of our work would get easily done. And today, when I see this, at least in the more developed economies, what I notice is that while you need to know your Excel, you also need to know the intelligent automation tools. And the firms have a lot of emphasis on things such as UiPath, Alteryx, and Power BI, what Farrukh mentioned a little while ago. Having said that, what is the mindset, Farrukh, if I can ask you, and what are the different technologies that somebody who's coming from a business background need to upskill themselves with? I mean, how can they get started? What are the bare minimum technology skills and tools that they need to familiarize and make themselves into an expert?
Yeah, so based on what's going on with my organization, the company I'm working with, we have over 300 to 400 CPAs working. And I would say almost like 95% of the CPAs come in with some sort of technical training. So of course, Excel is not going to totally go away. We love Excel and we can get a lot of things done. So as we get advanced, we start writing macros in Excel. And then we hit the limitation that we can only process 1 million rows, and Excel becomes too big and it's too slow. That's where we need to have some tools on our back pocket. So definitely recommend getting trained on tools like Alteryx. So RPA does a lot of mundane activities. It can log and put down the data. But once you have the data on your end from different sources, different systems, you need to do more, right? You need to transform it. You need to do calculations. You need to do VLOOKUPs. You need to do pivoting of the tables and data, etc. And the data is going to be huge because we're going to have millions and millions of rows of data. So, and if you don't want to like sample it, you want to see the whole data as it is. So you want to learn, so tools like Alteryx definitely are going to help you overcome that. And they're pretty easy to learn. They're pretty low code. You don't need to, I saw a question, what languages do I need to learn? So Alteryx, you don't need a language to learn. It's click and drag and drop. It's beautiful. You have a workflow, you have all the functions, you can just keep on dragging the icons and you can get your data flow done. And what you used to do it for over 8 hours, you can just do maybe in 8 minutes. So even UiPath, you can use like bots to sort of log in and so forth. And once you come on, once you have the data once pulled out from the Alteryx, it's still not ready. It's still machine readable form, right? It's like a dump of raw data. As an accountant, you still need to put that into an income statement format or balance sheet format or cash flow format. You can then use the tools like Power BI to sort of like visualize it, where you can slice and dice the data. You can drill it to transaction level. You can do a bunch of filters. To start with, it may not look like exactly a paper copy format that you're used to, but once you're used to these systems, it'll add more value and you can derive more insights from what's going on. So I would say start with tools like UiPath, start with tools like Alteryx, start with tools like Power BI, and they all have free trial periods or community trial licenses where you can do like unpaid practices on these tools for a long time. You can use that to sort of upskill yourself. And then along the way, if you can keep track of what's going on in the industry, okay, so ChatGPT has come, AI has come, how is it being integrated into your browsers and so forth. So keep tab on what's going on in the industry, right? But on the other side, you also need to have a good business acumen. Whatever company you're working with, whatever field you're working with. If I'm working with I was working with a company that are farmers, so I need to know what's the farming about. So having a business acumen, whether you're working with a manufacturer, you need to know what are they manufacturing, what are their inventories, or how is their warehouse laid out. If you're working with a physician practice or a hospital, you need to know how they're putting on the claims, how does the insurance work. So having the business acumen is another half of the story. And then finally, I would come back to communication skills. Now your RPS doing your like lightweighted works, your Alteryx is doing all your data cleansing and munging, and then you're doing a lot of visualization. But you need to come in front of your management and CFO and tell them the story. You need to convert the data into information very quickly. So learn PowerPoint skills where you can tell a story and communicate succinctly. And so forth. Truly, what Dr. Noor has presented is such a good example of how we can present the information with all the empirical evidences based off data, right? You have all the tools and you use communication. And the last piece on top of that is critical thinking. You are bringing in your thoughts and your value add as a CPA. Okay, you're not just telling what the data is telling you, but you are also giving them suggestions. So I mean, you're sort of doing intelligence on top of the information, right? So need to have all those. And lastly, I would say continuous learning. Keep on tap of like free webinars. I mean, this is such a beautiful example where I got to learn a lot from you all. So I would stop there.
Thank you, Farrukh. I really love how you shared the example of how simple trial balance and data dumps are transformed using Alteryx, and we have a lot of questions around what Alteryx is. So we do have a very interesting detailed discussion later in the event on that. But to give you a very basic example for those who are listening, think about your data dump, and every month, if you are looking at your financials, you need to clean up that data. You need to apply subtotals. You need to apply a VLOOKUP. Now imagine if you can get Alteryx, you have to do it. You have to set it up once, and every month, all you need to do is just change your data source from 1 month's trial balance or 1 month's data dump to another month, and what took you maybe 2 hours, you will be able to do within 30 seconds, because you just have to press a button and it does the exact same steps, because that's same steps you're doing every month. It's going to do it on its own. So I'm glad you brought that up. And another thing from a learning perspective, there is a lot of buzz around coding and trying to understand. But I think you mentioned that to start with a low-code environment from Alteryx, UiPath, that's and Power BI, obviously. That's the basics that students can start working on. Is that right?
Absolutely. If you feel challenges in learning a language like Python, Python is the most prevalent used language, and it's pretty easily learned. I mean, back in the days, maybe 10 years before, it was Java, but now it's Python. If there's one language you definitely want to learn, it would be Python. That's going to continue going into the future. But you don't have to learn a language at this time, because some of these tools are making a low-code language in the sense that they're taking care of all the complexities of like coding and all. But you need to learn the tools itself. So learning the tool like RPA, like a UiPath or Alteryx, that itself requires some time and investment to understand, okay, this tool works this way. When I'm talking about UiPath, I'm talking about bots. When I'm talking Alteryx, I'm talking about workflows and functions. When I'm talking of Power BI, I'm talking about data model. So just being acclimated to what each tool is different. So if you invest yourself in learning about each of the tools, you may not need to do much of advanced coding at this time. But for a CFA or a chartered accountant, I think these tools would take the very long way.
Right. So is it fair to say that to start with basics, you start with your intelligent automation tools, because there are no-code environments, easy for a business or a finance background person to get into. There are free tools available, free videos available that you can pace up, and even there are certifications that you can do for Alteryx and UiPath online, and I believe for Power BI as well, and just to understand how they work. Python is nice to have, and it's a very powerful coding language. I think that's a step after that. But if you can get your hands on, get some training on, great on your resume. And to be fair, let's understand that it takes a lot of iterations. It takes a lot of time to fully know a language, to understand coding, especially if you're coming from a business background. Python is a great programming language, but what I also recommend a lot of accountants especially is to understand how data is queried, which means data fetching, understand SQL, or commonly known as SQL. Try to understand what joins are, how do different tables talk to each other, how do different fields can be connected to each other. So I think that's also something very powerful and helpful from a business and accounting perspective. Thank you, Farrukh. And we have another interesting question for Asif, because he introduced at least me to the concept of triple entry accounting, and that's something which fascinated me very much. I would like him to explain it in his own words, and how triple entry accounting can impact an accountant's day at work.
Basically, when you're talking about a triple accounting system, somewhat misleading. It is the third entry. Instead, it's a third component. It is added to the debit credit system. The common thread or the binding component is the blockchain that links the books together and help in linking two separate double entries, and can potentially be viewed as an external auditing purposes. For instance, the individual firm having their own books for the transaction, they go through a contract called, in blockchain is a smart contract, which eventually, includes every aspect of transaction, what the product was, who was the seller, who was the buyer, and above all, it digitally signed. The smart contracts, which are self-executing contracts, which with the terms written in their programming code, such as the agreement, are automatically executed upon some terms and condition met, that some like LCs and other things, they can be made, once the conditions are fulfilled. So these conditions which can be fulfilled are accounting for the triple entry, which are the validating points. And smart contracts are built in blockchains, and they help to create this kind of validation.
So from an accounting perspective, is there an example that you can share?
Yeah, example I have already shared that, for example, that it is electronically, it's a decentralized system. Like in a smart contract, I give you an example I give example that I am selling a good to Mr. Zubair, and Mr. Zubair will check some, specification. It is okay that we make a smart contract on blockchain that I have sent the good, the money will be on the escrow account, not in the bank, in the system. When the conditions are fulfilled and Mr. Zubair have clicked that, okay, I have received the good, and when the money is, hitting, for example, there are terms and conditions when the money will hit his account, when the goods will reach, for example, it's an ecosystem, for example, it's delivered. So it in the system, it shows that the courier have delivered the goods to Mr. Zubair. Once he signed the documents, looking at the goods, he opens the goods, he checks the goods, he signs. Electronically, the system accepts that Mr. Zubair have accepted the goods. So automatically, the payments which he have already on transit, it is in the system, it will come to me. So it means that system, which is validating system, the third component, smart contract, which is called, triple entry, or you can say the electronically, it will execute the contract itself.
Great. A follow-up to that, and just
I just want to add something like that. Sorry, it is very much beneficial, especially in the taxations. It's taxations one, when we are using a blockchain system. Most of the countries, they are working on that one. In Thailand and in the UK already, they are in Germany, they are progressing towards that system. It means the payments for the taxations, especially the VAT, or you can say sale tax, will be real-time basis. You don't have to file the returns and everything like that. There will be transparency, and the government exchequers will get their a portion of taxes on time. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Asif. I'll segue into another question, and since we are on the blockchain subject, it's very interesting for a lot of people. A lot of people think about cryptocurrency. A lot of people think about different ways in which other countries are utilizing blockchain to make processes more efficient and more robust. And I believe you did share a few examples with me earlier as well. But from a regulatory compliance perspective, there's always a concern. And some countries, while have gone ahead and introduced measures, how far along do you think we in Pakistan are from that point?
I tell you that it's very clear, change or you will be changed. The problem is that one, that, if we are not changing and we are late on that one. I think since 2-3 years, I'm trying to have the awareness program. I did 8 programs with the State Bank of Pakistan on open banking and other things like that. I was not allowed to do on cryptos. They said it is in our agenda that we cannot even talk about crypto. People are, countries, they are very much far ahead on that one. And they have regulations in place. They are doing these things over there. Like Dubai is one of the hubs over there. And UK, US, you have ATM machines for cryptos there. So we are living in, far behind. And the organizations, the banks, even they declared that they are not, they are against the crypto. They are using the system of blockchain. I give you an example of, if you everyone have aware of WeChat. WeChat is the second largest application after WhatsApp. It's have around 800 million users. I think WhatsApp and 1.2 billion, and it's have 800. 70% of the user WeChats are stationed in China, and around their 60 or 70% populations are using that one for doing the transactions. They're buying, selling on WeChat. So see the business, how they are flourishing, and how they are doing these things are there. So the regulators here are far behind on that.
So the argument in defense of that is to protect the interest of the people so that to protect them from high risk or losses. But I believe people are still transacting where they have to.
Yeah, I tell you that the largest money laundering and AML, you go and check Google yourself. It's from the fiat currency. It's not from the cryptos. How much cryptos are there? This is not the argument. The argument is all wrong. Look at how much ML, ML requirements are there for the cash transaction. It's not for the fiat. Fiat currency is non-traceable. Cryptocurrencies are traceable. There is no fraud. There is no anti-money laundering on that one. Even it is on the system. So once you are in the system, so many, hackers, there are so many frauds going on, cryptos. You can get the money back within 3 days, your cryptos. Why? Because they are in the systems and everything is documented, eKYC, digital onboarding, everything is there. So this kind of things, I think they are even not Googling that how much, frauds are going through fiat currency.
Fair point. So just to conclude this blockchain subject, what can as an individual and as corporations, especially from an accounting and finance background, what can they do to upskill themselves and obviously to make a step forward towards better usage of blockchain?
See, first of all is the awareness. Awareness is that ICAP is doing tremendous, efforts. Now the digital boat over here is Ms. Khurshid and other people are there. Tremendous is awareness amongst the professionals. First, we have to educate ourselves that, okay, what is this? What is blockchain? AI, digitalization, all are far from 1940s or 50s. They are there. AI is there. Blockchain is just a new technology. So somebody have to explore and somebody first has to go through and learn. There are different courses are there, free courses are there, and courses have been offered almost from all top universities in the world, which is online and it's not very much expensive.
Great. Thank you so much, Asif. I have a few questions on AI and RPA related. I'll just go ahead and put that across. And before I do that, you talk about trainings and seminars. While we have the digital board has introduced the data analytics, there's also a new certification on TSC for the which is for the auditors in terms of systems audit, which is being introduced and will be starting after Ramzan this year. So that's something which is getting a lot of interest and something definitely as an auditor we need to start talking about as well. So the question is, and I'll put that out, what should be the roadmap for newly qualified chartered accountants, like as business professionals? What learning and knowledge should they have in order to implement digital transformation? Maybe that's something, Farrukh, do you want to take that? I think we already discussed a little bit about that, the different kind of learning, but if you have anything to add on that, you or Zubair sir.
I want to add, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, see over there that we are talking about now globalization. We are expected to reach 55.7 billion by 2022 virtual accounting and auditing services. And then in transformation, it's not only blockchain, it's blockchain, big data, data analytics, AI, and cloud-based accounting. Now, sitting over there in the homes, you can do all the accounting, you can receive the documents, you can verify the documents. So the clouding, when the cloud computing and cloud services are there, it has become drastically changed the way we do the accounting and the auditing. So the students must aware that how they can make use of the cloud computing, cloud services, and all these other things which are applicable to nowadays for accounting or auditing.
Great. Anything else, Zubair?
I think, thank you so much. So I think accounting, the way it was done maybe 20, 25 years ago, or even to some extent done, and especially when I go and to Pakistan, I see the way things are done. I think this is going to end. So as newly qualified chartered accountants, if they are not embracing technology, or if they are not, as Mr. Zaman mentioned that, looking at cloud computing and the way it is done, if they do not embrace the way the technology is moving, and especially RPA having a big impact on that, right? Because even, when you look at RPA, For the accounting function, the best RPAs are the people who have done accounting, because you just bring a professional who has just a technical knowledge of RPA. He or she cannot do anything till they really understand accounting. So for career progression perspective, I think the fresh chartered accountants should focus on embracing the new technology. Blockchain is one, RPA is one, basic understanding. And an RPA, the name looks very complicated, but actually it is very simple. If I go back when I started using Excel and we started using macros, that was RPA in the very basic form, right? And now we are advanced and there are much more tools and much more low code or no code solutions available. So the most important thing is for the new chartered accountants to be having an open mindset and see what they should learn in order to compete in the global market.
Excellent. That's a great point. I think we just have a few minutes, so I'll take one more question on, especially for corporations. It's a big decision when it comes to implementation of blockchain, RPA, AI, and a costly one as well. If somebody can share, one of you, what are the different steps that when it comes, and again focusing on accounting and finance teams only, what steps do they need to take in order to prioritize what technology or tools that they need to get started with first? Obviously depends on the needs, but still, if we have the best practice, what would that be?
I can take.
Sure, please.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Ask.
No, please go ahead, sir. No problem.
I think one of the most important thing is, from my perspective, as I've seen, is that to really have a good understanding on what they want to achieve, right? So even though there can be certain steps that can be automated, but for reasons which are just not financial reasons or other reasons, they would like to keep that manual. So just ignore that. So from a starting point, it is very important. And there are so many tools available that go out and you just do like exploration to see what are the multiple or repetitive steps that are done, right? And one of the things that what I've seen is that if you have a big vision that okay, I want to do like a very big implementation, it is always there are challenges. So taking small steps where you automate small things, low value added things in the beginning, see the results, get the team to be comfortable, and then move forward gradually, that is a good thing. Now it comes of tool selection. I don't know, Mr. Farrukh, the other Farrukh, he is more, I'm not a very technologist guy, but I don't see big differences in the tools that are available. Yes, there are some tools which have a good support, and the ones that are the UiPath and the Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, they have a big company, so they have big support, they have new things coming up, right? But even I've seen that smaller companies, smaller tools, they are also doing very similar things, right? So each of the company have their own situation, and from their own situation, they can make an implementation plan as to what technology they are comfortable with. This is my simple answer for that. Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Asif, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine enough. It's very simple that you see, we have to look around that what the things are to be. There are, if we are talking about financial services, there are 1.5 billion people, unbanked people in the world. 1.4 billion people are unbanked. And the technology, you say everybody is using a smartphone. It has a smartphone. So you must to see that how you can reach your customer, your client, your things there through smartphones. And your technology is like cloud-based technology for the auditing and accounting one. I prefer that using a remote, like, traveling times has been saved, and the fixed assets like have a leverage office are saved. So you can use the small steps for even the SMEs. The SMEs is using first step is that using the cloud services, getting, documents in the Dropbox, how to use the Dropbox, how the auditing can be done, how the verification can be done. So these are some small steps, like applications and accounting softwares can be on, mobile apps are there. So what happened that it becomes easier to do the entries sitting from one part and doing the transactions.
Great. And just to add to that, there are a lot of organizations who are considering or starting to use, even in Pakistan, the use of drones, especially in inventory management, in manufacturing. warehouses and their where they have a large set of inventory for just stock taking, and that's also something which is gaining a lot of popularity, and also as another example of how actual robots are helping in figuring everything out. I would like to thank Mr. Zubair Sobani, Mr. Asif Zaman, and Mr. Farrukh Muhammad for your time. It was a great discussion, and I hope people were able to get a lot of new insights from that. As a conclusion, I think, and this is a general theme of people ask what to do. I think it's important to know what you want, do your research. There's a lot of things out there, whether you're a student or not, you still need to learn technology and get yourself updated. Thank you, everyone.